Hey everyone, this is Michael. We're talking Volvo car sales. I am no longer at the dealership. I stopped working at the dealership actually 2 months ago, and I will be stopping by the dealership as soon as I can, depending on my work schedule. I want to film some more Volvos, but obviously I'm sitting in a Volvo right now, my wife's Volvo. I would love to be able to purchase a Volvo in the future for myself as well, so there's going to be a lot going on. I have a lot of exciting ideas for this channel, but this video I just wanted to go into why I quit car sales. I almost had 3 years of experience with car sales. I started with Mitsubishi, then went to Infinity within the same auto group, then went to another Infinity store for 2 weeks and didn't like that. The traffic was, not great. So I went from that to Volvo. And at Volvo, I had a fantastic time. That was the best dealership of them all. I was selling a product that I absolutely loved. It's so easy to sell something that you truly, truly believe in because you're passionate actually about it. And even if someone doesn't fully love your product, not everybody's going to love it. Even if it's a Mercedes or a Bugatti or a Bentley, some people are going to be like, yes, but you can always defend it. You at least have some natural objections to it because you love it. And you're like, well, let me just be honest with you. Here's what I love about it. Here's what I hate about it. I have one. I had one. I crashed some. This has been in the family, and friends and family have got it. My wife has one. It's easy to sell it. So I loved car sales, and I also hated it. But it's a love-hate relationship with any job. And the parts that you hate about car sales, well, there's going to be some long nights. I actually enjoyed the long nights, but there were days off throughout my entire 3 years, and I didn't work as much at the Volvo dealership, but at the Infinity store, we worked a fair amount. So there were weeks where it was pretty tough. You had your day off, and then a client calls you, and you were trying to call that client, 5 days in a row, and he didn't pick up. And then he calls you finally. He's like, you know what? I'm coming in without an appointment right now in an hour, and it's your day off. And you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? Well, sometimes I would come in, but sometimes you actually plan your day out and, I'm at a doctor's appointment or, I'm at the beach or whatever. I'm trying to, have some fun with my wife and hello, client is here. And okay, I got to drive from the beach and, get changed and all this stuff. And it's like, well, that's just not going to happen. You're probably not going to make it in time. So there was plenty of situations like that. Now that was kind of oddly specific, but there's been situations where I had a buddy who was also in car sales. He, on his day off, was in Wisconsin. He was 4 hours away, and suddenly he got a call and he has to come in right now. And it's like, okay, you get calls on Sundays. Sundays, the dealership is closed. Clients would call you. They get your personal number. So there's certain things that like that where you're like, Now, some people were absolutely terrible. I've had some absolutely terrible clients. At one of the dealerships, they called the police on us, and it wasn't even my fault. The police came, nothing happened. They laughed actually at the client, but you had crazy stories, and there's a lot of crazy stories I'm ready to tell. Most of them happen, at the other stores. Volvo didn't really have a lot of crazy stories. Each brand has their clients, right? And the stereotypical clients, well, that's pretty much what it's at. And Volvo, I enjoyed the clientele because most of the time they were very calm. They were well educated. These were people who knew what they wanted, and it was okay. It was easier. It was something that I actually enjoyed. I enjoyed working with a lot of these Volvo clients. Not all of them. Some were a little very picky and very rude, but that was, in any manufacturer, any dealership, any sales position, a small amount of the people, you got a couple bad apples. Some of them are going to be rude. But at the Infinity store, there was a lot more of those types. There was a fair amount. At Mitsubishi, for sure. 100%. Mitsubishi, I'm sorry, it's a failing brand, so at least in America. Outside of America, they've got some decent stuff. They got pickup trucks. Well, we have no pickup trucks in America for Mitsubishi. They got rid of the most important stuff, and now you have just crossovers, which aren't selling so well. The only reason someone gets into a Mitsubishi at this point is because you kind of get thrown into it by your financial position. Or maybe your family drove it in, foreign countries where it was a lot more popular. Those were the two situations I was mainly faced with. Or maybe someone really, really likes a Mitsubishi. But there's also selling the Mitsubishi Mirage with, I forgot what it was, like 72 horsepower, 3-cylinder engine, really, really tiny. Yeah, it gets great gas mileage, but it's certainly not a safe car. If something was to slam into that, Volvo, I feel safe in this. If something slams into me, I'm probably going to be all right, depending on how fast they were going. And a Mitsubishi, I don't know about that. You can just watch the crash test ratings. So There was a lot of interesting situations, and it was a love-hate relationship with car sales. You worked long hours, you had great months, but you also had the bad months. That was what I mainly hated about car sales, was the instability. You just never could plan out your finances. You would have, even in the summertime, you'd have, where summer is supposed to be better, some months in summer sucked. Some months in summer were great. The timing overall when I got into car sales was also very interesting because it was post-COVID. It was during COVID and post-COVID. And it was a different environment than a lot of people were making money hand over fist before COVID. And during COVID, some dealerships were. The dealerships that I was at, the salesmen weren't making money, hand over fist. Some of these dealerships were selling, $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 over sticker. And we were at Infinity, we were selling some at $10,000 over sticker, mainly $5,000 over sticker. But we weren't really seeing a lot of those profits. So you were seeing a decent amount of money. But compared to what some of these people on Car Sales Reddit would say, oh, I'm making 120 grand, 150, 200. I never even breached 100 grand. I never even got close. The most I ever made in car sales was like $69,000. And that was working a lot of hours. That was also with Uber and other stuff in there. So really just the car sales portion by itself, I think was like $65,000. And I got told that my pay plan sucked. And that was at the previous dealerships. The Volvo dealership, I can't tell you exactly how much I made that year because I didn't stay a full year. And also it was a portion of this year, portion of that year. But it was on average like car sales with everything, with the bad months, good months. Although the last couple of months of Volvo didn't go so well, it was just a very tough time for all dealerships. So whether it was Volvo or Mercedes or luxury dealerships, especially in particular, these clientele aren't going to be investing money right now into an $80,000 car if they see what's going on with the market. So it totally makes sense. And now I switched into banking, and banking is also in a slow season. But thankfully, I have a stable income coming in now constantly. So I'm working a lot less hours, and I switched to banking, retail banking, where, it's not glamorous, but it's similar to sales a little bit. You got a little bit of sales, a little bit of customer service. I learned a lot from car sales. The sales and customer service are key. You're going to take that into any industry. And I love cars. I will always love cars, and it was a fun experience. I got to drive a lot of cool cars around. But the long hours and then the unstable pay, eventually too much of that, and there just weren't enough clients purchasing Volvos and any car in general the last couple of months. The winter was brutal, so that's why I had to leave, because of my financial situation. So not only that, but I'm going through bankruptcy. I have to make payments. I have some debts and high interest car payment on the Volkswagen. So there was just a lot going on. I sometimes miss car sales. I sometimes would love to deal with some of these fun clients. There was a lot of situations where you had some funny clients, you had some crazy clients, like absolutely whacked out of their mind. At Mitsubishi, I had someone with I'm not going to say it on the channel, but you can imagine what kind of tattoos he had. He came out of prison. So these were gang tattoos. You had a lot of situations. He was not approved for a car, obviously. You have situations where people, it could be a dangerous job. Thankfully not the dealerships I worked at, but there's some smaller dealerships in sketchier areas where, similar to a bank, a sketchier area, there can be a holdup. There can be people, drawing their guns. There can be cars that get stolen. At Infinity, we got robbed 4 times. Now, thankfully, no one was, there was one time where there was a couple salesmen still. I was not at the store because I left, on time, but some of the sales guys did have to stay late. There was a lot of nights we had to stay late, but that night I left home, and I found out that as the last guys were getting out of the dealership, they were shutting down the lights. There were some sketchy cars in the parking lot. They were waiting to rob the place, and they left very quickly. The police came and whatnot, but there were other situations where it could have been the same guys who were scoping up the place. That place was robbed 4 times, at least during when I was there, and there was other dealerships along the strip that got robbed other times as well. In the same auto group that the Volvo store was at, ironically, the competition Acura was across the street from Infinity where I worked at. And they got robbed pretty hard, where a bunch of keys were stolen. The neighbor to the Volvo store, where there was a lot of cool cars, there was, Jeep Trackhawks that were stolen. There's a lot of interesting sports cars, muscle cars that these thieves are targeting. And usually late at night, thankfully, no salesman gets hurt. But there's some pretty brazen cases, like in Wisconsin. Unfortunately, there was a salesman who's deceased now because of a kidnapping and robbery gone wrong. And there's always that little danger. That is the teeny tiny, that could happen at a bank too. But the biggest danger in car sales, it's not a 9-to-5 job. It's not a dangerous job. not like, construction or being a firefighter or policeman or whatnot. But the biggest danger, honestly, and you have to be able to take control of the situation. I had this one client at the Infinity store. It was late. It was winter. It was very snowy. It was very icy, black ice. And this guy it was a teenager. It was his first car. He was 16 years old, and he wanted a rear-wheel drive BMW, a 4 Series. And this kid was just, I would say some mean words here, but he was silly. He was definitely silly. I was ready to stop the test drive. I was about to yell at him like, dude, I don't even care about the sale anymore. This is my life. The car almost spun out. Like, we were spinning on ice, and he kept flooring it. And thankfully, I think he kind of understood, and he kind of calmed down a little bit, because we almost spun out. We almost crashed. There were multiple situations where I had even a policeman who was driving over 100 miles an hour, and he later is like, oh, I'm a cop. And it was like, okay. So you have situations where people drive like crazy. I had one guy weaving in and out of traffic in an Audi A8, and I get it. Some of us speed. We're car guys. We like to have fun. But there's situations where you can have fun, and there's situations where you've got other people with their families that are depending on them. And I don't know the customers. I mean, some of them have really bad driving skills. I've seen really terrible driving skills. We've had customers crash cars in parking lots. So you just don't know who you're getting in with. And there's situations where, unfortunately, people on the news, there's crashes, and the salesman alongside the customers, they're deceased. So, small dangers, but that was something that was in the back of my mind, during winter time. But anyways, I still will be recording Volvos. I still will be recording car videos. Not to worry. We're still going to stay here, but just wanted to update you. Thanks for watching.